which leads into the slide quickly to summarize the kind of distribution chain formats. They're somewhat limited. So as I mentioned, the market will really dictate the delivery format. And for things like 3D Blu-ray, there is no way outside of the commercial studios to create 3D Blu-rays at the moment. Obviously, you have YouTube, as I just mentioned, but then also 3D files. You can create 3D video files, and there are more technologies becoming available to actually let you look at those on your computer. And so that's actually probably a pretty wide medium, but it's worth thinking about. So, moving on to the acquisition of 3D content, there are, again, different ways. At, say, the more professional level or prior to the emergence of 3D cameras that I'll touch on in a moment, you can certainly use two existing cameras to create 3D. And Kevin's going to touch on this a little bit more in some of the production techniques. But taking two existing cameras with a rig to hold those cameras at a certain location is probably how the majority of 3D content is filmed today. And that can apply at varying levels. So anywhere from high definition video right the way up to professional broadcast and film quality cameras and 4K resolutions and beyond. Likewise, you're starting to see a couple of examples. Here I have the Fuji FinePix camera that I mentioned here. And likewise, there's also Panasonic camera, very much at the consumer level. The Fuji, I think, is like $500. The Panasonic is, I believe, just over $1,000. But they're directly targeted at the consumer level of video capturing. So they're beginning to take new technology, beginning to deliver 3D video capturing to the consumer level. Likewise, the viewing technologies, there's the anaglyph viewing method, which is obviously creating two different, the eyes are represented by two different colors, and essentially by putting, or filtered by two different colors, and then when you view the content, you have glasses that have filters with those colors, and you're able to form the image again. Obviously, anaglyph affects the color of the image, so it's not very desirable. However, it's the advantage of anaglyph is that it's pretty cheap, it's pretty easy, and you don't really need any special viewing technology. You just need a pair of glasses. But quality-wise, is probably not worth going beyond much, just more evaluating the 3D and position and things like that. What you're starting to see, though, is a large number of 3D TVs, and also things like the video cabling and transmission standard of HDMI 1.4 is actually now has been extended to include several different 3D formats. So that what that really does is make this plug and play for everyone. If you buy a TV for your use at home, and it's HDMI 1.4 and it's a 3D TV, you can plug that into a 3D Blu-ray player and know that it will just work, and things like that. And that's really taking 3D to the home level. And here's some manufacturers of those TVs, there's way more as well. Likewise, attached to the computer, you're also starting to see a whole range of 3D LCD technology. And again, here are some examples of 3D LCD. Each of these panels is 1920 by 1080 resolution, so full HD in size. And the quality of 3D experience that you get from the LCDs is probably actually the best in the 0 to 3 foot range. If you're working on a video and you're editing that video, the 3D LCDs are really high quality for that close to the screen. Some of the other technologies that exist at both a panel level and the TV are things like interlaced stereo, where there's alternate rows of the pixels are left and right, and lenses that you wear. The glasses are passive, so they're basically one eye has one polarization, the other eye has a different one. The quality of those at the close range is, you lose spatial resolution, whereas the LCDs don't have that. that said, when you have the interlaced displays and you're a little further back, then they certainly do give a good experience. So some of the larger interlaced displays are good for evaluating content, but a little further distance. Okay, so what I like, with this slide, what we wanted to try to do was just sort of give a presentation of the overall professional production overview. So this is a series of steps and alternatives for producing a video. And at that point, I'll hand over to Kevin, but just want to point out that where you see any of the green words, that can be where a GPU can help in the video creation process. So Kevin will go into a bit more detail on the production overview, and then also highlight some of these areas as it relates to 3D.
Okay, thank you, Ian. So my name is Kevin O'Brien. I'm actually a filmmaker. So not to feel intimidated, I bought myself a Python book so I could sit around and have a look at it and pretend I'm actually one of you guys. So we have here a standard production pipeline. It's the same for home, semi-pro, and feature film. You basically have an idea, you tell some friends about it, you go into pre-production, you then go into content creation, which is either CG, live action, stop frame, or combination thereof, then into post-production, which is where you actually have to take your stereo and make it work, because believe me, it doesn't work first time. If it does, you're a damn fine person, you can make a shed load of money. But if most of us have to tweak our 3D to actually get it out, and then there's deliverables, which again is like digital cinema packaging, but obviously more sort of Blu-ray, H.264, and YouTube, and so forth. Okay, so that's pretty much the standard flow. Okay, all these stages rely on creative tools, but as Ian said, anything that touches green, you can actually leverage the GPU to help and assist with what you're doing. Okay? So, 3D production technology. There's pretty much two ways of acquiring stereo. I could recommend you go to the web link down there, pstechnic.de. Great site to tell you how to best use rigs. Another book I can recommend as well is 3D Movie Making from Focal Press. It literally tells you everything and gives you examples. So you generally have side-by-side, or this thing called top and bottom. So we all understand side-by-side. Here's my 720p HD rig, two Webbies with a bit of Lego stuck across the bottom. Okay, but these fit at my interocular distance. Okay, so I can actually shoot 3D, but not very close up. Think about 3D as the introduction of Technicolor. Has everyone seen a major Technicolor movie? Meet Me in St. Louis, Lawrence of Arabia, all those sorts of things. No? If you do, everything's shot very wide with quite a narrow, quite a deep field of focus. Because when you're working with two cameras side by side, you can do this little trick yourself. We've got a certain interocular distance, so you look at your finger, background goes flat and out of focus. But if you bring it forward, it's really hard to look at anything in the close field, especially if you're over 40. So what they found is if you can decrease the interocular distance, that's actually putting the lenses together, but you've got a physical size involved, especially if you're using film cameras. You put one camera horizontally, one vertically, and then have a 50% semi-silver mirror in between, and then you can line the cameras up so you can get really close interocular distance, so you can start to do close-ups. But again, when you're working with these rigs, they're very, very cumbersome, and we're actually taking a step back in technology in filmmaking.